he couldn't step into the water. They knew that well enough. So he's lifted onto the top bunk, and he says, "Mom, I had to shake that kid up there so hard to try to wake him up. He was sleeping so sound." And so he remembers that moment very definitively. But before long, and the counselors that I've talked to have said the water was rising, what felt like about every 5 minutes, maybe 2 feet. It was just...
I got chills.
Yeah, it was just going so fast.
So you've got 16-year-olds with 15 scared boys. The water's rising up, and they're just putting them higher because that's all that they really know how to do.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Samantha Busch. Welcome to another episode of Certified Oversharer. Today we have my longtime Instagram friend on. Her name is Keli Rabon, and she has a wild story that you are not going to want to miss. Her 2 boys, ages 7 and 9, were in the summer Texas floods at the camps. And so she is going to tell us about that terrifying story, how the boys are still dealing with the trauma, and really how stressful it was for the parents, because there's so many details of this story that I didn't realize until she started talking about them. It was already horrific, and then hearing the inside details, like I just can't imagine what these parents went through. So buckle up, get ready for another episode of Certified Oversharer. All right. Well, this is super exciting. I feel like we've been Instagram friends for a very long time.
It has been a long time.
And this is so crazy because I think a lot of people are friends online, but like we finally got to meet in person.
Yes.
And you are as awesome as I thought you'd be. Like, you know, sometimes you meet people and you're like, womp womp. Like that was not a womp womp when we got to see each other at the race.
It was like chills, getting to actually see you and feel the warmth that I actually feel through the little screen in person, and then some. So thank you for really being that amazing in person.
Well, what did your boys think of the race?
They loved it. They were in awe. They said they were like, this is the best day of my life. But then I'll tell you, when we got back to the hotel last night, they said, tomorrow's going to be my really, really best day of my life when I get to meet Brexton.
Yeah, so that was one thing I wanted to tell our listeners out there. So you have Braden and Brock, and is it 9 and 7?
Yes.
9 and 7, and then Brexton's 10. So they're hanging out right now while we're on the pod, and Brexton was super excited too because he was like, do they like fishing? Do they like racing? Like, what are they into? He was like planning a whole day.
All the things.
Well, good. So they're going to be occupied and have lots of fun. But I want to dive right into it because obviously you were supposed to come on the pod a couple months ago, and then tragedy struck.
Yes.
Do you want to walk us through all of that?
Yeah, interestingly, the last time that we had talked about, we've been talking about getting together for the pod for a while, and we'd kicked around July 2nd, and I said, well, I'm actually taking my kids to camp that day. Turns out that experience was something that we never could have anticipated. The July 4th floods. A lot of people, know about the tragedy that then ensued. For my boys, they were only at camp for a day and a half. And on that morning of July 4th, I woke up to text messages that actually didn't really seem that dire. The camp kind of said, we had a lot of water overnight, no power, no cell service. We'll update you when we can. Which seemed odd to me.
Wait, and this was after the huge flooding had happened. That's all they said.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm assuming they didn't want to create panic, but that's also very false. Like that was that wasn't just like, oh, hey, there was a storm and we knocked out some power.
Right.
So at this point, well, first, let me ask you, is this the first time they've gone to camp or?
Braden this was going to be his 3rd summer.
Okay.
Brock, this was his first time.
Oh gosh, poor child.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be scarred for life after this.
Very much so. And we are all doing therapy. And so that's been a journey in and of itself.
Well, I want to get to that. So yeah. They go away to camp. I saw the photo that you posted, and it was Braden jumping in the river. And I remember seeing that, and that was the day before.
Yes.
And then they went to bed that night.
They went to bed that night, and they woke up probably around 2:30 or so. And the lightning was so bright, they said, unlike anything that they'd seen before. and the thunder was so loud it was shaking the cabins.
And how many boys are in each cabin? Because I know your boys weren't together.
Right, they were not together. They were because Braden had been a few years. He had actually been in that same pod of cabins, twice before that Brock was in. But Brock was in one of the lower lying cabins, and when I say lower lying, still probably 150 yards from the river. So not like it was, not like you walk out and you're in the river. No, but I mean on this fateful morning, that would be a very different situation. But anyway, so when Brock finally does wake up, sometime around 3, his mattress is wet.
What was his first thought? Did he tell you?
He was disoriented, as any kid would be. He'd only spent, one night there before. He didn't even know the names of his counselors at that point. I mean, the kid had just finished kindergarten.
Right. And how many boys are in each cabin?
About 15.
And then there's one counselor for every...
Two to three. Sometimes they have kind of like a floating counselor, but these counselors are 16, 17, 18 years old.
I never took that into consideration until you said that right now. So, I mean, they're kind of babies themselves.
Kids saving kids. It was kids saving kids.
Oh, my gosh. So Brock wakes up at 3 a.m. His mattress is wet.
His mattress is wet. He was on a bottom bunk, and the other counselors had started to wake up at that point, too. He remembers one of the counselors picking him up and telling him, get on the top bunk, because at that point, it's not like he could step he couldn't step into the water. They knew that well enough. So he's lifted onto the top bunk, and he says, "Mom, I had to shake that kid up there so hard to try to wake him up. He was sleeping so sound." And so he remembers that moment very definitively. But before long, and the counselors that I've talked to have said the water was rising, what felt like about every 5 minutes, maybe 2 feet. It was just...
I got chills.
Yeah, it was just going so fast.
And do they tell them to stay put? Like, what is the protocol?
They didn't know of a protocol.
Oh, my gosh.
And despite what the camp owner has testified to before the state legislature, they did not practice any sort of emergency evacuation.
So you've got 16-year-olds
yeah.
with 15 scared boys. Mm-hmm. The water's rising up, and they're just putting them higher because that's all that they really know how to do.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, one of them was an Eagle Scout in this pod of cabins, and so he had kind of just yelled out. I don't know if he definitely was able to keep his cool from what I understand, and they just kept moving the boys to higher ground. I mean, there was one counselor in that pod who just bailed out. He couldn't take it.
So he just left. Where did he go?
He kind of got washed away for a bit. He ended up being okay, but I mean, he bailed out. So
now 15 scared boys are with one, maybe two,
right?
Counselors.
And so their setup was 3 cabins sharing the same shower. And so it ended up being about 50 plus boys in one structure.
Does Brock remember, was there yelling? Like, what was...
There lots of crying, lots of yelling. At some point, the teenage counselors had to yell at the boys to tell them to just be quiet. They were praying with them. They were singing songs. They were trying to do really anything that they could to distract them. But, they had these boys perched up as high as they possibly could, like even above shower stalls. And in some of the pictures that I have, I mean, you can see they had about a foot of clearance. For some of them who were too scared to get onto the shower stalls, they were floating on top of mattresses. Meanwhile, the bunk beds had flipped over, trunks were floating everywhere, debris was in and out, the cabin walls started to come in, there was an interior wall that fell, an exterior wall, doors coming off. A counselor who was a counselor in training who was like 15, 16, his mom told me that his job was to stare straight ahead. And once the door, the like red glowing exit sign went underwater, he had to just keep staring at that sign of where it was to remember that if all else failed, he would think that door might be a vulnerable spot, and he would grab kids and try to swim
Go
under
under.
and push through. I mean, imagine being 15, 16 years old and even thinking, hey guys, maybe we can pull the ceiling fan out of the ceiling, and maybe there's a weak spot in the ceiling.
And they can crawl through.
Yeah,
So they're
like,
just sitting there waiting to be rescued. Like, that's the hope.
Waiting, hoping, and thinking that, like, they have no communication with the outside, with a real adult.
Right. It's just, like you said,
just them for
kids and
themselves.
kids. And so at this point, are there sirens going? Do they know that there's rescue? Or is it just, you can't hear anything? There's the water, there's lightning, there's thunder.
They were just in the middle of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They had absolutely no idea when they were going to get saved, how long this would take, if they were going to get saved. I mean,
What
they
did
were just
Brock
in
say
it.
was going through his mind?
He doesn't really remember.
Kind of blocked out the trauma. Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of what we're working through, or the therapists are working through with him. I try to kind of stay out of that part because I just want to be there for him when he's ready. To talk about things. Yeah. And so he does make little utterances every now and then. So he'll say, for example, he saw a Diet Coke the other day, and we don't ever drink soda at home, but he said, I remember the Cokes from camp when the National Guard dropped them off with the applesauce.
Wow. So like he's starting it's almost like his brain's starting to let
Little
some
flickers,
things come
little
back
flickers
through.
of things.
So he's in the middle of that. Braden is higher up. And what is happening up there?
So it's, and we have to remember, it's pitch black outside with the exception of the lightning strikes.
There's so much that you're telling me that no, I wasn't thinking of. Like when I was listening to this and thinking about this, you're thinking, okay, there's lights, there's adults, there's these things. And it's actually much more horrific than I think what many people realize these poor kids went through.
Right. And for so many of them, especially like someone in Brock's situation, they were so unfamiliar with
the people, the
scenery,
kids, the area,
the whole setup, right? Because they were not only first-time campers, but they'd only been there for a day.
So even if they knew to get out and they could have gotten out because there wasn't water, where were they going? Right, they didn't know. And they're really babies. Like when you think about it, they're 7.
Yeah. I mean, even as an adult, you would have a tough time.
Yeah. So Braden's up top, further away from the river.
He is. He is further away from the river in kind of an elevated spot. However, he can hear a lot of screaming.
Is that what woke him up?
Yeah, and also the thunder and the lightning, but a lot of screaming. And then eventually sees some flashlights. And so some kids were being evacuated from a different cabin and ended up joining his cabin. But he didn't have a full explanation or concept of really what was going on.
Was there any water in their cabin?
Not in his cabin.
Okay.
But in other cabins there besides, Brock's cabin, those in that pod, there was water, but just not in Braden's. But for that whole day, he didn't know where Brock was or if he was okay, because they weren't allowed to leave their cabins all day long.
So even after morning broke, they weren't evacuating them anywhere else. They just held the kids. And then where was Brock being held?
Brock ended up being moved to a different cabin that was, a safer place because his cabin was a total wreck. When you see the pictures and I can share some of those with you, it was an absolute wreck. And we didn't get anything back of Brock's.
How did he finally get rescued?
Not until about 7, I think.
So 4 hours of living through this utter, like a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Well, by the time they moved, sorry, I meant like from camp. So they were in like the thick of the water for probably 2 hours. And then, before the water started to recede. And then at some point, then they were able to get out of there. But they stayed at camp all day long. And it wasn't until 7 p.m., that they were moved to the reunification center.
So what hour did you get the text that they had lost some power?
That was they sent that text at 7 a.m. and I didn't see it until about, 8:30, 9 a.m.
So at 7 a.m. already, your son has lived through I mean, just something.
Pure hell.
Yes. And is now at least in a cabin that's safe, but there's no text or mention of like, hey, some of the cabins were absolutely destroyed. I mean,
This
did
was
anybody
a catastrophic event.
Did anybody get hurt at the boys' camp?
There were some people that did have some level of minor injuries, but they have kept everything very hush hush.
That would have pissed me off as a mom, because I would have thought if you got a text that was like, hey, this, tragic event happened, come now. But you probably looked at it and were like, oh, okay, they're out of power. So when did you realize that it was a little bit more than this very misleading text?
It felt something about it felt weird to me, but again, just solely based on their text, it wasn't giving me the hop in the car feeling. So I looked for the San Antonio news stations on YouTube, and I used to be an investigative reporter, and so I thought, all right, well, I can't stream them on my TV in Houston, but let me see what's going on in San Antonio. And that's when I saw that the stations were doing wall-to-wall weather coverage. And I thought, all right, well, this looks like there was a pretty big event. And then I pull up Instagram and I see Camp Mystic had just posted its statement that, if we have not contacted you directly, then your daughter is okay. But for those that we have contacted directly, your daughter is missing. And I thought,
your heart just had a drop.
For them to say that publicly, oh my gosh, it's bad. And
did you call your camp then right away?
Well, because they were already laying out the foundation that they didn't have phone service.
Oh.
I didn't call them, but right away I pull up Google Maps and I see, okay, we're 5 minutes away. I see how close the river is. This is definitely a problem. And so
what is going through your mind at this moment?
Well, I'm worried about Brock. I'm worried about both of them, but Brock especially, knowing that he's my little guy. He's more sensitive than Brayden, and that he was newer to the camp, and that they generally put the littles closer to the water. I just had the spidey instinct, the mama instinct, whatever
mom intuition.
It just was firing on all cylinders. And I called their dad, and he's like, oh, they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. And I'm like, no, trust me on this one. And then I opened up TikTok. And the first thing that pops up on TikTok, our phones know what to serve us, for better or worse.
Yes, they do.
First thing it served me was the video of a cabin floating. And it said Camp Mystic at the top, but I knew it was Camp La Junta. And sure enough, it was. Because I recognized the cabins, and I could hear all boys screaming in the background. And it's Camp Mystic is all girls camp. And I thought, oh my gosh, please,
let my babies be okay.
Yeah. And so when I saw that cabin floating, I lost it. But I put on my tunnel vision and I said, okay, mom on a mission. Let's get the rain boots. Let's get the dogs, some dog food.
We're going. How many hours away is the camp from your home?
5.
Okay. So you immediately get in the car.
Yeah. I just knew that I had to go and get as close as I could, not knowing exactly what I'd be driving into.
I can't imagine that. I mean, literally, I've got goosebumps and it's really hot in this room. The whole time just thinking your babies are there. There's no communication. All you're seeing is this tragedy unfolding on social media. No answers. This is literally a living nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is really, or was that way, no way of reaching my kids. All I could put my hope and faith in was that they, God, please let them be okay, and just get there as fast as I can.
So when you got there, how close could you get? Right to camp?
Thankfully, not to camp, not at all to camp. This was another really sad deal by that evening, once I got there, it was around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Can I ask real quick, was there any communication from the camp between 7 a.m. and now at 7:30?
Yes. So they updated us with these text messages throughout the day, saying like, just reminding people, do not come to the camp because the highway was closed. Because, really, these bridges were out. It was inaccessible. And so
you're like, I will hike my ass to that camp and get my kids.
We're going to figure this out one way or another. Somebody's got to know somebody who can,
helicopter drop me off.
Exactly.
That would be me.
Creative.
That would be me too.
Yeah, we can get real creative. But, it's like, just say the word and I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee I'll figure it out. But no, they were keeping us posted. But I remember very, very minimally, while I was driving, getting the text saying, we just got a helicopter drop with supplies for the boys, like some food and water.
You're like, a little bit more dramatic than what you let on at 7:30 a.m.
But it's just the text that you never think you're going to get.
And you're like, what are the conditions there? At that time, had they said, like, all campers are accounted for?
Yes.
Okay.
And everyone is okay. But what does okay mean?
Right.
What does okay mean? That's not enough to... And then they didn't give you an opportunity. Surely they had I don't know. You have to have backup plans on backup plans. When you're responsible, there were 400 kids there that day.
Wow. I also didn't realize there was that many children there. Wow.
You got to have backup plans on backup plans. And as I have dug further into what happened that day, I just have become more and more disappointed and disgusted with what happened.
Obviously we all saw this on social, but I think as you're explaining it, again, 400 children, that is a ton of kids, and they're being watched by teenagers. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh. I know how this story ends for you, and it's still like.
And as the camp director sleeping there on property, how do you sleep through that storm and not get up and make sure that your kids are okay?
No, that's your job. That's like why you're the director of the camp. What? So they didn't get out the whole time?
Not until it was too late for him to access cabins like Brock's.
You are a very strong woman. I'm sure you're boiling underneath. Like, I'm boiling for you right now, just being a mother. And when you send your kids to things, you entrust that they're being taken care of. And like you said, you entrust that there's, okay, here's plan A, here's plan B, and here's plan C. And when shit hits the fan, here's our next plan, because we are entrusted with all these precious children.
So that's what it boils down to, is it should not be too much to ask
for their safety,
for you to get your butt out of bed and go check on my kids.
Right.
Warning or not, like phone alert or not, that it's lightning and thundering like crazy.
Right. You're by the river.
And, and that there was a significant storm coming in. Is it not worth it to get out and just go look?
Isn't like the Boy Scout saying, like, always be prepared. Right? Like, right, you would assume that maybe that would. Yeah. So are there now, because I've seen a lot on your social, is there, you and a group of moms are trying to help prevent this and put things into place now?
Yeah. So I'm really hoping to get to, at some point, partner with the Heavens 27 group and the campaign for camp safety. I just started on my own because I knew in those early stages that because I so thankfully, and gratefully had not physically lost my children, that I needed to speak up. And people could get mad at me for talking because, that's kind of a violation of the camp culture, which is camp culture is a very big, very important thing in the area. I had someone who sent me some, nasty messages saying, like, you obviously don't want to be part of this mom group, do you?
You're like, I'm not worried about the mom group. I'm not worried about fitting in. I'm worried about future children's safety.
Yeah, exactly. It's as simple as that. You go, have drinks with your mom group, and I'm going to make sure that kids and people are safe.
When were you reunited with the boys?
So around 8:00 that night. Yeah. Oh, that was the story that I was going to mention, is that, so I'm driving up, and pull into Kerrville, and I'm following my ways, and so I see these state troopers directing traffic, and I'm slow rolling in, and then I see all these people standing outside, and in tears. Well, it was a funeral home, and people were identifying the bodies, and it was directly across the street from the church where we were picking up our Camp La Junta boys. And it just still like breaks my heart to think that it was the story of two very different situations, and it's just not, it's just not fair. It's not fair.
I can't imagine what those parents went through.
And it's like we were one tiny street separated, and I just have to drive past them. It was just it's like you immediately are faced with this survivor's guilt, because it's like you have to figure out how you juggle grief and gratitude at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then how are you going to handle that with your kids? And at that point, I don't even know what my kids experienced or didn't experience. So I better hold it together.
Right, because you don't know what you're about to walk into.
Maybe they didn't see anything. Maybe they were, dry as bone the whole time. Like, I don't know.
So your kids ended up being at that church. So they were like bussing them over. Mm-hmm. And then you got to them that night?
Yeah. And so we, their dad had also driven to Kerrville. So we got together and we had dinner, and I got to give the boys a big hug. And I knew that I had to walk in super neutral, because I didn't want to be emotional and scare them. Because again, I had no idea what they had or hadn't seen or experienced.
Or heard, yeah, right.
Yes. And so once they had their meals at the table, I was like, so Brock, what happened? And I could tell, actually, I should mention this. I could tell when I first saw him, he was wearing an oversized hoodie that was someone else's, shorts that were someone else's, and no shoes. And so, again, putting all the little clues together, I knew that was not a good sign.
Right.
And his face was white as a ghost.
I was going to say, he was probably just in shock.
He was. And so those two little clues gave me a pretty good idea that he'd been through something. But I waited until, he'd had a couple bites of his fries, and so what happened? He said, I don't remember.
Which is probably, it's like a blessing, but also it was so traumatic. Mm-hmm. And Braden knew everything.
Yeah. And so there's nothing that can prepare you as a parent for that.
For that trauma.
And so that's one other like little cause that I want to take up, is really trying to be intentional when disasters do happen in the future, about trying to, I don't know, be able to share resources or something with people that, in that 5-hour drive, I'll tell you, I wish that I would have had someone sending me, hey, like, this is a little one-sheeter that you could,
like a practical application.
Hey, FYI, your kid may or may not have, experienced, but here's just a few little pointers that maybe you could think about.
I love that. I think you and I have always connected via social because you take something hard and difficult and you're like, how can I use this to help other people? And that's what I've always loved and admired about you. And you've taken such a horrific tragedy, and now you're not like, okay, well, we're done, it's fine, I'm gonna take care of my kids and help them through this. You're like, what can I do for the other kids? What can I do for the other families? What can I do for the future of kids going to camps or whatever the trauma may be? It's not just that. I absolutely love that about you. I'm very proud of everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. I know in my heart of hearts that like that is my gift, Stuff happens to everybody, right? But I feel like stuff happens to me, and when it does, I need to use those lessons in ways and share those lessons in ways that can help other people, because otherwise, it's just a waste.
I think God gave you that voice and that like drive in order to be able to do those things, because it takes a really strong person, right? Like, you're still healing, your kids are still healing. I just want to ask one more question and then we'll switch gears, but have you seen the trauma manifest in Brock? Like, is there nightmares or like
Yeah.
is other things that he's experiencing.
Definitely. Nightmares, this hypersensitivity to weather. Like yesterday, I don't know what was going on, even at the track. He noticed
The clouds.
He noticed the clouds. He noticed when there was smoke off to the side. I mean, he is razor focused on the weather at all times. He wants to be checking the weather on the phone and see if there's any chance of rain. There have been times, especially early on, when he would just be sitting on the bed and think that the mattress was wet or that some like water was dripping from the ceiling. That has tapered off some, but just to see those things kind of manifest in your child, it is, and I've talked to other parents too who have said, I just never would have thought that this would be a thing, and to see it unfold, it really is.
Does Braden have anything?
He's had some of those as well, and some dreams. I mean, I've even had dreams about river things in different aspects of my life. And
I'm sure. It's just all that runs on a loop.
It just, and so it's been really, really important for us to be talking to someone and figuring out how to dissect. They're doing EMDR therapy is this next kind of wave for him. So they started with like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is kind of talk therapy. And then this is sort of the next wave. But that was the other thing that I went to initially go advocate for when I spoke to the state legislature was they had forgotten. This is a really important thing. So I said, look, you guys were able to reap the benefits of having everyone, this is the busiest time for Kerr County, July 4th weekend. You had everyone there, all these out-of-towners, and then something really bad happened, a natural disaster, a federally declared natural disaster, and then everybody went back home. But you forgot that they all experienced this trauma too, and now what?
Right.
Because I called FEMA and FEMA said, oh, well, you don't live in the disaster zone. You don't have a zip code there, so we don't help you with anything emotional. I called the camp. They said, well, we don't have any way to help you. And so like even the state had forgotten
that there's a lot of traumas
that's not just in Kerr County. Yeah.
Right.
And so anyway, they've made modifications to the state plan as well as a result of the testimony that I gave.
Oh, that's
and the
incredible.
poking and prodding.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So thanks. I mean, it's just, but that's the thing is if, people can say, oh, why does she keep talking about this stuff? That's fine. Say what you want. But you know what? I'm making a difference.
Change. Yeah. And that's why I think God has you go through things to make that change. Yep. Well, thank you for sharing all that super in depth. And I'm so happy that the boys are together and that I'm sure. Can I ask one more question? Sorry. And then I'm going to switch. When did the boys get to see each other?
When they were reunited at the church.
So it wasn't until
they weren't even on the same bus out of camp together. It was not until they got to this church.
I can't imagine what a feeling that was for them to see each other.
And Braden, because their dad and I are divorced, and we have been for 6 years, since before Brock turned 1. Okay, Braden has been the one constant in Brock's life, regardless of anything else. They move together.
Right.
Always.
You could tell. Always. I mean, I saw them briefly at the race, and you can just tell they're best of friends.
They are.
And he looks out for him.
Yeah. And so that was really, really tough on the both of them to be going through something traumatic and not know and not be with each other.
Especially when they were that close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That had to be... Oof. Okay, so obviously, you've hit on the fact that you were in investigative journalism, so you probably have a lot of news friends. When you were driving to the camp to get the boys, are you reaching out to them, trying to get some insider information? What's going on?
When I was actually at home live streaming, I had my iPad, my laptop, and my TV live streaming 3 different San Antonio stations. And back in my intern days, so 20 plus years ago, I had interned in San Antonio, and there were a couple of folks from the stations that are still in the business, I was actually reaching out to all of them simultaneously, saying, "Can you please talk about Camp La Junta? Can you please talk about Camp La Junta? Anything,
Right?
you
Like,
can
just
say,
give me the
please,
no.
anything." So yeah, I was doing that. I mean, I was watching every press conference. Just I brought like 3 backup batteries just so I could try my very best to
Stay in the know.
Stay in the know.
So another thing I don't understand as you're telling me this story, okay, like I don't know because I've never been to camp. Aren't there satellite phones or I don't know, like two-way radio? Like I don't know, there has to be some sort of communication, right? Like I'm thinking like when you're on a boat and it's going down, you can mayday somebody, right? Is there no like mayday when you're at a camp because everybody relies on cell phones? But like I'm missing how in this day and age there was zero communication.
I would agree. I mean, look, you can get a walkie-talkie at Walmart or on Amazon for, a few bucks.
Right, because the camp director wasn't even able to talk to the different cabins.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, and it is no secret that in that area, cell phone service is spotty, even on
that's what
a
I
good
think.
day.
You're in the woods.
Right. That's kind of the point. It was shocking to me because I remember back in my day of going to camp a long, long time ago, they had just the walkie-talkies. They would use those to transition between activities, or if somebody fell and, skint their knee, they would, call ahead to the nurse and say, "Hey, can we send so-and-so up to the nurse?"
Right,
just
it
making
just
sure.
seems like common sense.
Yeah, I mean, and I've thought, why do they not? You can buy online for $10 these little water sensors that make a loud sound that you can put in your house. Like, why are those not at, in every cabin? Just as, again, another
Precaution.
fallback precaution.
Because when you have 400 kids in your care, you should be taking a multitude of precautions because
Right.
that's what the parents are expecting from you.
Sure.
And I'm sure that's probably what you're being sold on.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I mean, like, to be honest, it's not like they're like, "Hey, just so you know, we don't have any walkie-talkies. We don't really have a way to get a hold of our counselors, but we got your kids. Don't worry." Like, that's not what they're telling these parents. I would be livid.
Exactly.
Livid.
And then, also there's this degree of, you're sold on this idea of responsibility and leadership and teaching your boys to become strong, honest men. And unfortunately, that is not the response that I saw from the camp in the days, weeks, and now months after.
So this is just an ongoing saga, really, for you guys.
For me, yeah, and for us, and for a lot of the camp families.
Right, because you're like, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to have forward momentum and help other people, and it's just, I can't imagine. Let's be honest, some of my best stories start with, "So I had a drink," and spiral from there, which is exactly why Big Rack Spirits feels like the unofficial sponsor of every unfiltered moment on this podcast. Whether it's the East Coast Cooler, Trailblazing Tangerine, or Rosie's Pink Lemonade, they make flavored vodka that goes down easier than your latest situationship. It's all natural, super smooth, and honestly, dangerous in the best way. No fake flavors, no mixers needed. Just pour, sip, and overshare. And maybe cry, obnoxiously laugh, definitely regret saying it all out loud. But hey, at least it was entertaining. Oh, and they're not just out here making delicious chaos in a bottle. Big Rack gives back too. Military charities, breast cancer foundations, real impact with every pour. So if you're gonna tell on yourself, you might as well do it with a drink that's worth it. Must be 21 or older, please drink responsibly. So glad the boys are okay. I'm glad they got to come to their first race. I'm glad that
Thank you.
I don't even want to know. I hear a lot of pounding. I don't even want to know what the 3 boys are up to right now, but I'm happy that they are here and everything as well.
Thank you.
So can we switch gears? Is that okay?
Let's do it.
So you mentioned that you were divorced.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see, because I had known that you had done life as a single mom, but then since following you, I know that there was like a brief engagement.
There was.
So can you just give us all the tea? Because I personally, as somebody who's followed you for years, is like, I really want to know the whole story.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You know what's funny is that some days I actually forget the engagement ever happened. I think maybe that's my own trauma trying to block it out.
You're like, that's just not there. Well, I remember seeing it. I remember you talked about like you guys were walking your dogs.
Yes.
So
It was the cutest little story.
So first, you were married how long?
So I was married for almost 4 years.
Okay.
I have a lot of good stories. I mean, even how I met my ex-husband was a great story. But maybe I need to just meet someone where I don't have a good story.
How did you meet your ex-husband?
Okay. So I met my ex-husband. I was living in Denver, and I was actually starting to move. I had just accepted this job in Houston, and I was in the elevator, and I had some moving boxes, and this guy gets on the elevator, and he's like, "Oh, what's that all about?" I said, "I'm moving." He says, "Where?" "To Houston." He said, "That's the most miserable city in the world. Who would ever want to live there?" I was like, "Oh, I guess me."
Like, thanks.
Yeah. And that was kind of it. Well, then about 10 minutes later, I get a call from the front desk, and they said, a resident noticed that you were moving and wanted to see if you needed any boxes. And he sent like 50 moving boxes up to my unit.
Oh, that's interesting. Why did he have 50 moving boxes?
Because he just moved in.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. I was like, did he go out and buy them? Like, what?
He had just moved in. But anyway, then he came by and like properly introduced himself and stuff. But it was pretty slick.
So then you moved.
I moved, but he moved with me like 2 weeks later. 10 days, 2 weeks later. Yeah, something like that.
Wait. Hold on.
I know.
So you met on an elevator, and 10 days later, y'all are moving to Houston together.
And he basically FedExed his stuff to my parents' house.
And how did you feel about that?
I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, finally someone really wants to commit to me.
Was it just, I mean, in 10 days, like, did you spend every waking moment
Pretty
together?
much.
Okay.
I mean, I was in transition, you know. I just like closed out the chapter with my TV job in Denver and was about to open the new chapter in Houston. And so it was like I had some extra time on my hands as I was in the midst of packing and saying goodbye to everyone. And so we just spent a lot of time together, really hit it off. And he was in a position to be able to move his company.
That's what I was just going to ask. I was like, how?
Yeah.
Okay.
He owned his own company, and he was interested in potentially moving it. And so he's like, yeah, I can go. I mean, I don't think he fully intended necessarily to like make the full-time move to Houston, but he's like, oh, just ship some stuff down there to your parents, you know. Anyway, my parents were like, who is this guy?
So in 10 days, how are you feeling about this?
I mean, I was feeling really excited to finally have someone, because I honestly, for like throughout my life, it's been really hard to have guys like commit to me. And I don't know if it's because I just am picking the wrong guys.
Well, I don't know, because I just told you look like Kate Hudson. So, like, you must have a lot sliding in your DMs.
I don't know. Now I feel like now it's, you know, the guys, their perception these days is like, oh, you're over 40, you have 2 kids. That's too much baggage for me.
You're like, then I don't want you in my life.
Exactly.
So, okay, he moves to Houston.
Yes.
This is week 2. Y'all are living together.
Yes. At my parents'.
At your parents' house.
Which that only lasted for like 2 weeks, but yeah.
And when did you get married?
How about we ask, when did I get pregnant?
Okay, when did you get pregnant? Can I ask, how long was it before you guys slept together? Because that's what I'm dying to know.
Not long.
Like
I don't know, 2 weeks or something.
Okay, the first time you slept together, was it in Denver or at your parents' house? Because that's a real question.
Okay, it was in Denver.
Okay,
it was in Denver.
So it's within 10 days,
yes,
which is fine.
Yes,
no judgment.
yes,
I just really want to know the timeline.
I was like, hold on, now let me remember. No, it was definitely in Denver.
Did you get pregnant?
No, it was in Houston when I got pregnant, but by that time we'd moved into corporate housing. So I'd like started my job at the TV station. And so we were only at my parents' like in transition and before my corporate apartment was ready. And so anyway, so we're staying at this like.
So like, are we in month 2,
yeah,
3,
like
4?
a month, basically a month in.
Okay, a month in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Oops.
Oops.
Oops, that's
Yep.
okay. He's a great oops. Like, we love Braden.
Yes,
so
we
very
love Braden.
sweet.
We love Braden.
So, like, God's blessing.
Yes.
So, okay, you got pregnant.
Yep.
Then what happened?
Yep. So what had happened was,
So this is how it works.
and then we went to Lollapalooza in Chicago.
Yep, I know that.
And then came home, and then he proposed to me in an apartment that he had. This was really sweet. He had like rented. We'd only looked at it, but he had gone ahead and rented it, and then had our stuff moved into it
Aww.
while we were at the music festival.
Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah, and then had like my family and his family there to surprise us.
Oh, I love that.
So that was really sweet.
So then you got married after.
Like 8 weeks later, maybe. So that would have been in August, and then we got married in November.
So you met in August.
So we met in May, end of April. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was a
So it was a whirlwind for sure,
Yes,
but
yeah.
in the best kind of way, it sounds like.
Yeah, and then Braden was born March 1st.
And then were you able to continue your career, or like what happened there?
No, I ended up just leaving. I mean, there was kind of multiple factors. One, the job wasn't ultimately like what was promised to me. As an investigative reporter, it's very important to me to be able to dig in fully to my stories and tell both sides. And I just didn't feel like it was I wasn't able to really have that opportunity to do that. And so it was best for me to just walk away. And that, coupled with now this new family situation, I left. But then I couldn't fully like let go of the business. So I went back to a different station and freelanced. Kind
of best of both worlds.
Yes,
then.
after I'd had Braden. And then for about like 6 months or so at the end of, 2016 or 2017. Anyway, and then after that, I left the business for good.
And then in that time, then Brock came along.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then I'd had enough. I couldn't do it anymore. It was rough. It was rough. The marriage, it had just fallen apart. It was, and with Brock, sometimes people just keep trying to stick it out, and they know that they really shouldn't, but they just
So you made the
coexist.
decision?
Oh, yeah. I filed, and Brock hadn't even turned 1 yet.
And how was that? Because now you're a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
Two young boys.
It was the hardest period. I mean, it was the darkest period of my life, for sure.
Did you have family support or like close by?
No. Oh, actually, so it's a complicated question, because I would say my family would say, yes, of course you had our support, but honestly, they tried to talk me out of it a lot and did not support it for quite a while.
Which is hard.
It took them a long time to really
know what you were going through, maybe?
Know what I was going through. And they didn't want, I don't think, the perception of me being divorced. They didn't want me to be a single mom. They wanted me to stay together for the kids, which I know is so common for people to hear or for people to believe. But I know in my heart of hearts that was just not right. And it was, it was not sustainable. Not
for
best
your
for
mental
my
health,
Mm-mm.
the kids, everything.
Yep.
So was it friendly divorce, messy divorce? Like
it was messy, but I had to get out of it as fast as I could. And so it was like 3 months or less.
Oh.
I didn't even do discovery. I didn't do anything.
You're just like, I just want to be. And
I was so at the end of my rope, like that. I mean, I could barely function. I felt like I was so alone. I felt like I was barely hanging on. I just, and what I would hear from him was look, I have more money than you. I have more this, I have more that. You know, I will destroy you.
A lot of gaslighting.
And so don't even try to play me.
So you were just like, you know what?
It's just,
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out, and you got the boys. So how did you pull yourself up out of that? Because I think there's probably a lot of people listening that maybe are in that exact same place and they feel alone and they're scared and they don't know how to get out of this. So like, what did you do? Because I know, you know, you've mentioned practical advice, helping other people.
Yeah, I think so. Around that time, or shortly before that time, I had started my blog and I had started doing something for me. It was right after Brock was born, actually. So I think one thing that I would kind of, even in reverse, or to rewind, would say, please don't ever give up your career or your passion entirely. You have to hold on to something that you love to do, because otherwise, once your identity is gone, then it's very, very hard to get back.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I had lost my identity entirely, almost entirely. And it's taken me a long time to build back. And so that's maybe one of the differences that I see between what I went through and what some of my other friends going through divorce maybe go through, is that I had lost so much of myself that I was really a shell of the old Keli.
Right. And so now you've gone through this divorce and now you're on your own and you're not sure who you are, just feeling very lost. So what did you do in those moments?
And when you think and think about this too, like, so I wasn't, you know, I didn't have a job outside the home at that point. And so it's like, okay, well, now what? Now what? Oh, I've taken off these few years so I could have babies, and like, what am I going to do for work now?
And you have to juggle 2 kids on your own now.
And so it's just, all of those things start to feel really overwhelming.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, you can just think about like the anxiety starting to rise instantly. You know, what am I going to do for health insurance? Like, what am I going to, you know, how am I going to get a car? How am I going to, because he took my car, even though, like, I hate everything.
So what did you do those first couple months?
I had to buy my car from him, you know, like, it was just so messy. When I say messy, I mean, but I didn't have the strength. I had let myself go so much, which is so crazy because I'm such a fighter. Like, you can see that I am such a fighter. But when it came to myself, like, I'd let myself go, and it's sad. And I vowed to, like, never, ever, 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 ever let myself, you know, get to that point again.
You definitely learned a lesson from it, and of who you truly are, you know? And I think you do. You really shine, and you can see that. And so I'm sure that was really hard for you to kind of be alone and on your own and be like, who am I now? Like, what am I going to do next? So how long did it take for you to kind of, you know, like, what were some of your first steps to kind of get your feet back on the ground and create? Because I'm sure through all of this, like, yes, it's very hard on you, but I know you, Mama Bear, want everything to be great for the kids. So, like, how are you managing all of this at that time?
So I did have some, I would say my blogger friends, my influencer friends that I had started to make in the community did help a lot with that. I was still new to that world, but they did kind of give me a little bit of an outlet. When you have to get up and get dressed and try to, you know, put on a smile even when you don't feel like it.
Right. Well, I love that at least you had that support of them. And I think that's really important, is that people, I feel like maybe when you're going through that situation, you're embarrassed and you don't want to talk about it. But like, I think you can attest to having that support group really got you through it all, right? And how then did you stay in Houston, and did he stay too? Are you close by your parents, or like?
My parents live about 100 miles away.
Oh, okay, so not super close.
Not that close. So I couldn't really rely on them for help, and he does live in Houston as well. Over time, the relationship has gotten better with us, but it's taken a lot of time. 6 years. You know, there's a whole roller coaster of times in 6 years. But, we try our best to work together for the kids. At least that's what I try to tell myself.
So tell me now, I mean, I know that there was a
Yes. Oh, yes.
short engagement,
Yes.
but I need to know about
Yes.
this because obviously, like I said, I followed you for forever. And then one day you did this post and you're like, I'm engaged. And it's like you guys were walking your dogs. And so that was the story, right? Like
Yes.
you guys met walking your dogs.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't.
I need to know this. I know you've mentally blocked the trauma, but
I know. Okay, so this was the craziest story. So I literally met him one night. I was in my pajamas walking my dogs, and on like a Saturday night, and he was walking his dog with his son, and
because he was older, right?
Yes, he was older.
Okay.
Mhm. And I didn't really think much of it at the time, other than he seemed nice and he lived in the neighborhood and said, maybe we could get coffee or something sometime. Oh, and his son went to my son's school as well. So that seemed like an interesting little coincidence. And then very quickly, what can I say? He fell in love.
There must just be that spark about you that men are just like, marry
Right.
me.
Yes, I guess. But I mean, look, I fell in love too, or at least with the person who I thought that I, was seeing at the time. And then it wasn't until we took our first trip over. Well, so he proposed to me right away, right? And
for listeners, what is right away?
3 weeks.
There's something about men that they just literally are like, I have to
Yes.
put a ring on this and we love her so
Yes,
much.
Exactly.
Okay, so he proposes in 3 weeks.
You'd think that I would have learned my lesson, but I thought this time's different.
And I'm sure he was saying all the right things.
He was saying all the right things. But alas, here we are.
What, if you want to talk about
Yeah.
it, went south?
So, I think it was like stuff got real when we went on this trip to Colorado. He had a house in Colorado, and he invited my boys to come. And so for the first part, it was he and his son and I. And then the second part, there was a little bit of overlap with his son there and then my sons. And actually, my mom ended up coming up as well. And I think it was just like too much little chaos. I mean, look, you know how hard it is, I'm sure, putting ski clothes on little kids to get out the door. If you're on
clothes,
a time,
any clothes.
I mean, any clothes, right? But anyway, so I think it was just like things
Was he,
like
like, kinda
that.
OCD?
Very
Okay.
much. Yeah, like if you left your coffee cup sitting somewhere and say you went to the restroom and then you came back, like it was probably gone.
I have a touch of OCD, so I could kind of see that, but like I do know it's annoying as well.
And so I think like, I don't know, there's some of those things, and then there were a few other question marks. But what's so crazy about all of this is that since we broke up, and it wasn't a dramatic breakup, he just like decided that he just didn't want to do it anymore. And
So it was him. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't think I ever realized that part of the story.
Yeah,
Okay.
I let him break up with me. I was like, I kept trying to. I was like, can we go like talk to a counselor or
yeah.
something? Like, there's got to be if you cared this much about me to want to promise your life
Right.
to me, then like surely we can work this out. And he's just like, no, I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of a red flag that maybe
Absolutely.
it was good to
Absolutely.
avoid.
No, I everything works. The doors close when they need to
Yes.
close, and we just have to trust that, right? But what's so weird, I know that he still lives, in a street over from me, but I've never seen him since.
No way. Oh, wait. Are you sure he's still there? Like, what if it was something weird, like he moved in to date? I don't know. My mind goes like to Lifetime movie style over here.
My friends have thought the same thing.
If I were your friends, I would like go knock on the door and just like pretend to sell like Girl Scout cookies or something and be like, "Oh, are you there? Hey, what happened to that guy who used to live here?" Now I really want to know.
Right?
Okay, if anybody's listening and know if he's there or alive, please let us know. So I do have to ask, because I know our time's almost done, but this is certified overshare. These were some crazy stories. Is there like any, oh my gosh, date story that you have? where they didn't propose like the next day? Or is there just any OMG? We always ask our guests if there's anything that they want to talk about. Like, I know we didn't even have time to get to your journalism, but is there any like overshare moment that you...
Oh my gosh. I'm going to think of so many funny stories as soon as I leave. But there was some kind of meme or something that I saw the other day that I'd shared when it was like, it's something about when you're in your 40s and you've dated like a 27-year-old and a 47-year-old or something like that.
Yes, I saw you post that.
And I'm like, oh, it's me.
Okay, so give our listeners the tea, right? What are some of the major differences, benefits, pros, cons? Like, give us a list.
Okay, so I would say like within the course of the same year, I've dated a 27-year-old and a 47-year-old.
He was 47.
I'm not even talking about him.
Oh, okay.
I think he probably was 57.
Okay. All right. So we're hitting the decades.
Yeah. Hey, look, you got to throw all the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks at this point.
So give me like, what are the biggest pros or cons?
Here's the thing is that I would say, let's not forget that a 27-year-old and a 47-year-old man both can be just as likely to sleep on a mattress without a bed frame. Okay.
Oh, jeez, at 47? Stop.
I'm serious.
Did you just walk in?
And it does not matter if he is a doctor or not, right?
Did you just walk in and you're like, this is a hard no, red flag, I'm out, we are not doing this?
Yeah, I mean, it does really let you down when they can't at least make their bed nice.
Sex better, 27, 47?
27.
That's why I was like, I wonder. I just wonder. Now, can I ask one more question? Because like I'm going to be 40 this year too. Were you like self-conscious at all when, you were with a 27-year-old? Because like I look at some things on me now, I'm like, why is this sagging? Why is this in this spot? This needs to be lifted up 3 more inches. Like, do you think about that? Or are you just like, F it?
Initially, yes. But then now I am so much more confident now than I was even 5 years ago.
I love that.
Yeah. And I'm not nearly in as good shape as I was, in the past. But I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is. It's fine.
But you also have to be confident that men try to marry you so fast. You're like, oh, this thing doesn't matter. He'll ask me to propose in like 3 weeks.
Something must work for them. I don't know.
I was going to say, you must be like very good at something that they're like, I never want to live without this.
That's right.
Well, this was great. I mean, I think we had a lot. I definitely would love to have you come back on because I know we don't have time to talk about it, but like your investigative journalism is incredible. I know that you've got big stories coming.
I do. I have some really good things in the works. And then that is one of the things that I really want to kind of like transition to a little bit more. I'm always going to be the light and fun and keep it real gal that people know and love, but my heart is in the advocacy and the investigative work too. So I think both concepts can coexist on my page.
Can you tell us something that you're working on in the future to get people excited?
Yes. Well, I'm definitely intrigued by the Charlie Kirk, situation, and it's, such a tragedy what has happened, but there are so many questions that are not being answered. And I think I know that I've done a lot of digging and spent a lot of late nights, and I've got some really good, interesting evidence that I've not seen anywhere else. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, I think too that it's good that you are diving so deep for the truth, because I think that's one thing about social media, right? Like anybody can post anything, and then if it goes viral, people are like, oh it's true.
Yep.
Must be. And you're like, well, actually not. So I think, whether it is what you're working on now or with Charlie Kirk, or if it's the stuff that you're doing with the camps, like you are getting to the bottom of things to show people like, no, this is actually what it is.
Yeah. And and I may not be 100% right all the time, but if I'm not putting, if I'm not digging and I'm not putting, my evidence out there, then I think like collectively, I'm not doing my part. And right now there's just way too many unanswered questions. And so I'm like, let me show you what I got.
Because you could just tell that's such your passion. And I love that. I love that you found yourself. I love that
Thank you.
the boys are all safe and good. We finally got to
Yes.
meet. They got to go to their first race. Like
Yes.
this was all great. And I really appreciate your time and you coming out here as
Thank you
well.
so much for having me. You are just, you're phenomenal. So
Thank you. I don't know about you guys, but there was so many details of the story at camp that I never thought of. Like, I didn't think about the fact that those counselors were 15 and 16 years old. I didn't think about the fact that, like, it is pitch black out there. I didn't think about the fact that they didn't have communication. Like, I knew that the camp didn't have, like, the kids didn't have communication with their parents, but the fact that, like, the directors didn't have communication with the counselors, and it was just pandemonium. I mean, my heart just, I cannot express enough how much my heart goes out to those families. And I just want to thank Keli, not only for coming on here and sharing her story, but being an advocate for those parents out there and future generations of campers. So, wow, that was a big episode today. I hope you guys are really enjoying Certified Oversharer. I look through all of your comments on YouTube and socials, and I really appreciate you all just, supporting the podcast. So as always, feel free to find us on all social media platforms at Cert Oversharer. You can also subscribe, like, and please comment on YouTube. That really helps push us out there. And then find us wherever you get your podcasts. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Have a great day.